Growing up, I knew that what they told you in school about Thanksgiving wasn't true. That's not the true story. The true story behind Thanksgiving was, after every killing of a whole village, these European settlers celebrated it, and they called it Thanksgiving. But it wasn't until Abraham Lincoln became president that it became an official holiday.
Growing up, I would be kind of annoyed that they didn't know what actually happened on Thanksgiving, and that they're actually celebrating the deaths of many people and many tribes that were lost.
Whether it's to give thanks or to be with your family, you should learn how the holiday was established in the first place.
Happy Thanksgiving, America.
For many, Thanksgiving holds some dearest memories. It's a time of showing gratitude, joyful anticipation, and time spent with family and friends. But what is the true origin of this holiday? Have you ever wondered about the real story behind Thanksgiving? Beneath the turkey dinners, family feasting and gatherings, and the tale of pilgrims and Native Americans sharing a peaceful meal, there's a history few know, a painful story that has been buried for far too long. A much more complex story, marked by desperation, conflict, and survival. It's a story that begins with the Pilgrims, their unyielding faith, and a treacherous journey across the Atlantic in search of freedom, only to find themselves facing a hostile reality. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the story of Thanksgiving, a tale not of feasts alone, but of terror, loss of life, and the hardship road settlers traveled to survive and conquer the New World. It was September 1620, and a ship called the Mayflower prepared to depart from Plymouth, England. Normally, the vessel carried wine and dry goods, but this time its cargo was far more precious and fragile. Below deck, 102 passengers huddled in the stinking dark quarters, tossed by storms and plagued by seasickness. They weren't just travelers, they were separatists, a group defying the Church of England by insisting on their right to worship as they saw fit. This defiance wasn't just heretical, it was treasonous. Facing prison, fines, and persecution, many fled England. Some sought refuge in the Netherlands, but even there, they feared their children would lose their identity in a foreign culture. So, with nowhere else to turn, they cast their hopes across the Atlantic. They believed the New World was their chance to forge a covenant with God, a fresh start on untouched soil. But the journey itself was a harrowing test of faith. Storms battered the Mayflower, cracking its beams and soaking precious supplies with salty brine. After 66 grueling days, they finally sighted land, not the fertile shores of Virginia they had aimed for, but the cold, barren coast of Cape Cod. It was November 1620, and winter was closing in fast. The settlers dropped anchor, realizing they had no choice but to make do. The land they stumbled upon was not untouched, however. It had once been home to the Patuxet people, who had been wiped out by a smallpox plague left by earlier European explorers. The Pilgrims scavenged abandoned villages, taking stored corn and any supplies they could find. They saw these discoveries as providence, believing God had cleared the land for them. That first winter was brutal. Freezing temperatures, starvation, and sickness ravaged the settlement. Half the colonists died, including their first governor, John Carver. The survivors dug graves at night to hide their dwindling numbers from potential enemies. Every day was a trial by fire, and every loss strengthened their conviction that they were being tested by God. By March 1621, their fortunes shifted. Samoset, a man from a neighboring tribe, walked into their camp, speaking enough English to communicate. He introduced them to Squanto. Squanto, a man who had endured slavery in England and learned English, chose to help these newcomers. He taught them how to survive, how to fish, how to grow corn, and even helped establish a peace treaty between the Pilgrims and the local Wampanoag tribe. This cooperative moment, a true act of goodwill, led to a feast between the Pilgrims and the Wampanoags, one that would later be romanticized as the first Thanksgiving. But this moment of peace was tragically short-lived. As news spread in England of the New World and its land's paradise, waves of Puritans began arriving in record numbers. They saw the vast, fence-free land as theirs for the taking, considering it public domain. Soon, these settlers joined forces with others, capturing young natives for slavery and murdering the rest, and seizing land from indigenous tribes. One of the bloodiest conflicts of this time was the Pequot War. In 1637, hundreds of Pequot men, women, and children gathered in what is now Groton, Connecticut, to celebrate their annual Green Corn Festival, a time of gratitude and community, much like our Thanksgiving today. But in the early hours, their festival turned into a massacre. Surrounded by English and Dutch mercenaries, those who tried to escape were killed on sight, while those who remained inside were burned alive. And after this horrific event, Massachusetts Bay Colony Governor John Winthrop declared it a day of Thanksgiving. But what was being celebrated was the murder of hundreds of unarmed people. Emboldened by this so-called victory, colonists went on to destroy village after village. Slavery became commonplace, with native women and children, over 14 sold off, while others were slaughtered. Towns offered bounties for Indian scalps, a brutal encouragement for further violence. Each successful raid, every massacre, was met with another Thanksgiving celebration, filling the colonists with a sense of triumph. As these violent Thanksgivings continued, some colonial leaders began to see a need to contain the celebration to one day per year. George Washington proposed just one Thanksgiving Day annually. Later, amid the turmoil of the Civil War, Abraham Lincoln would formalize Thanksgiving as a national holiday, though on the same day he ordered military action against the starving Sioux in Minnesota. This version of Thanksgiving's history is not the comforting story most of us grew up with and learned in classrooms. It's not about friendly feasts and shared traditions, but about loss, conquest, religious extremism, and violence. This story reminds us to honor those lives that were forever changed, people who wanted only to live freely and peacefully in their lands.
Beware lest anyone cheat you through philosophy and empty deceit, according to the tradition of men, according to the basic principles of the world, and not according to Messiah.
Thanksgiving is not a celebration that stems on the foundations of our Messiah Yahushua, who the world calls Jesus. History shows it is founded on the traditions of men and brutality. Scriptures teach us that Thanksgiving is not a one-day celebration, but a lifestyle. We are to worship our Creator Yah and give thanks always in everything and every day. This is Yah's way.
In everything give thanks, for this is the will of the Most High in Messiah Yahushua for you.
Some may say, well, what do I do now if I cannot celebrate Thanksgiving? The answer is, treat the day as a normal day. There are plenty of days out of the year and weeks that you can gather with family or cook a feast for your family just for the purpose of gathering. If your family truly loves you, they will respect your decision and not determine their love for you by a holiday. If you feel lonely on Thanksgiving, we encourage you to devote your time in prayer. If you really feel like partaking in holiday celebrations, you can also learn all about Yah's biblical feast days and celebrate it with your family if that is what He puts on your heart to do. Our Heavenly Father wants true believers to separate themselves from this world and to be set apart.
I do not pray that you should take them out of the world, but that you should keep them from the evil one. They are not of the world, just as I am not of the world. Sanctify them by your truth. Your word is truth. Then I heard another voice from heaven say, "Come out of her, my people, so that you will not share in her sins or contract any of her plagues."